Hi everybody, I'm Pamela Atwood, gerontologist, certified dementia practitioner, and certified laughter leader. Welcome back to our Confident Caregiver series. In this show, Show 18, I videotaped something that was going to be, not videotaped, I recorded something that was going to be about stress. And I'm recovering from a wicked cold, and it didn't quite feel authentic to me. So I thought, you know what, I'm trashing that. Let's talk from the heart and let's be real. So what I want to talk about today is taking care of a caregiver. And it's something that we've touched on a couple of times on these videos, but I am reminded about a story that I tell a lot when I'm doing some public speaking. I do some presentations on humor as a coping strategy. I've been doing it for about 20 years now. In 2007 and then again in 2009, I became a certified laughter leader, and I've been offering laughter therapy sessions throughout our area for many, many years. But one of the things that I've learned in this whole process is that you have to take care of yourself. I can only give so much, whether I'm doing presentations or consultations or, working on different policies and consulting and everything. I can only give so much before my body kind of says, that's enough, Pam, you need time to rest. And invariably, I end up with a cold. Usually, my body's pretty good about protecting me from some times on my calendar. For instance, last weekend was Valentine's Day, and I was doing a lot of quartetting around the area because I sing in a barbershop quartet. Probably the cold, I was vulnerable because we're in and out of the car, in and out of buildings, and immune system and cold and hot, and I don't know, all of that jazz. But whatever, I was stressed. I was vulnerable. My immune system says, you need to rest. So I end up with this cold. And it's just a cold. No one ever died from a cold. I'll be fine. But in the meantime, I'm reminded as I'm working with caregivers and I'm saying caregivers need to take care of themselves, that I can bring home that message with a couple of simple examples. One of the things that I really do strongly believe in is, especially when you're a caregiver, you need to protect yourself by surrounding yourself with other positive people. It's hard work being a caregiver. So I always try to remind caregivers to protect themselves by making sure that the people around them aren't all negative. I call it a negativity frenzy. My husband summers up in Maine, and they would go out on the ocean and go fishing, and we would go fishing for blues, and the bait fish would all kind of run to the surface, and the blues would cause this feeding frenzy. And I use that kind of as my metaphor for a negativity frenzy. It's like as soon as something really negative happens, everybody else has to chime in with their own negative experience, and they have all of these other comments, and it's like negative, 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 negative. There is nothing that's going to zap your caregiver's soul more than a whole lot of negativity. Been there, done that. Seriously. What we need to do is we need to protect ourselves from negativity. We need to protect ourselves from those negativity frenzies. Avoid them if at all possible. So I'll give you a quick example. I used to work with someone, let's call her Susie. And Susie was one of these people who really was very, very fun because we were about the same age. We have kids who have some things in common, but there were differences, enough difference so that she was interesting. We had some interesting conversations. Well, my office at work is one door away from payroll. So every Monday, Susie would come down on her way to payroll or on her way back from payroll, stop in my office and say, hey, how was your weekend? And, it was a short conversation, 2 minutes. But in 2 minutes, she could make me feel awful. And she would come in and she would say, oh, well, my brother this and my parents that and, so-and-so and my ex-husband and this and that. And she would leave my office after less than 2 minutes sometimes. And I'd turn around back to my computer and I'd say, oh my God, Mondays suck. And I'm like, wait a minute. My weekend was fine. My siblings are awesome. My parents are fine. My husband is wonderful. What just happened here? And I realized it's like watching a whole lot of docudramas on television. The negativity or some of these negative reality shows or talk shows, we all know who they are. All of the negativity around you, that kind of seeps into your soul. It seeps into your emotional state. So you have to control that. Now, as I would start to share these stories with some of my audiences as a public speaker, as a professional speaker, my audience would say, well, you could maybe help her. I'm old enough now and wise enough to realize that I can't change everybody. Certainly, I could try to support her, but really, in a 2-minute conversation, this isn't therapy. It's a friendly conversation. So my options are, 1, eliminate her from my life, or 2, protect myself in some other way. So here's what I did. There are days when I was totally stressed out. If I had a deadline, if I had something else coming up, what would happen is I need to protect my space. So on those days, my door was closed, or I'm on the phone early and focused, or I'm out of my office for a half hour until things get settled. I needed to protect my time. I needed to have first the awareness that this was an issue, and then I needed to plan something to protect myself from that. Now, there were some days where, hey, I'm Teflon, I'm feeling great on this Monday, and I love my job, and life is good. But I can have her come in, and I just have to have the awareness that her negativity is not my negativity. Now, sometimes there were days in between. And what would happen is she would come in, we would have the conversation, but I wasn't quite feeling like Teflon. So I needed a little bit more something. So on those days, what would happen is I would then go back up to my unit where I have our Alzheimer's or dementia special care unit and spend some time with the things that make me truly happy. This reminded me of a time when I was taking care of my grandmother, and she was living with us for about 9 years while she had Alzheimer's disease. And I don't deal well with spit. It's just one of those things. It's the reason why I'm not a nurse. Well, pretty much anything that comes out of the body, blood, I'm fine with. Anything else that comes out of the body, not at all. Thank God for my husband, because every time the kids are sick, I go, Tom, the kids are sick. I can't handle it. So thank goodness for the fact that some people can handle those things. Everybody has a talent. That's not mine. So as a caregiver, though, sometimes we have to deal with these things. So as my grandmother, I was helping her brush her teeth. And I don't know if you realize, but at the end of teeth brushing comes spitting. Yuck. What would happen is I would try not to be totally grossed out and freak out my poor grandmother, who's just needing some little extra help. And I didn't want to make her feel badly that I was uncomfortable, because people with dementia will pick up their cues from us. So she's not going to understand that I'm just weird about spit. She's going to think I'm not comfortable helping her, and that's not at all how I wanted her to feel. My sister one day, very sweetly, when I opened up the medicine cabinet, had put a Far Side cartoon. I love the Far Side. It's just my own sick, twisted sense of humor. Had put a cartoon of the Far Side on the inside of the medicine cabinet. I laughed and laughed, and it helped distract me enough. I had something pleasant, something enjoyable to buffer the negativity of whatever caregiving situation I was in that case, dealing with spit. So that's one of the ways that we can kind of protect ourselves. If you know you have to do something unpleasant, plan for something pleasant. I mean, sure, we all get weak at times, and then we beat ourselves up later where you say, oh, this is so awful, I can't handle all this stress, I'm going to go have a sundae. Or today we had a basketball game, so hey, we're going to reward ourselves, let's go get some frozen yogurt. And that emotional eating isn't healthy. That's not a healthy way to cope. But if you know you're going to be stressed, plan a reward, plan something that's healthy, plan something that will bring you joy, so that you can not have to beat yourself up about the emotional eating or the negative coping strategies, whatever it is that you plan or that you default to, but plan something that's a positive coping strategy. So those are my recommendations for today's confident caregivers in this program. So just to kind of wrap up, to sum up, we want to make sure that we are aware of negativity around us, avoid negativity frenzies, and make sure that we're buffering ourselves and giving ourselves something more pleasurable or positive for coping to balance ourselves. I have a new resource for quotes today, and I love this book. A friend and colleague of mine is in it. And so she's just sent these to me. It's called Seasons of Caring. And it's a caregiver, it's a today's Caregiver Friendly Award recipient for 2015. It's a beautiful book. If you are at all spiritual, and I mean every kind of spirituality, there are short stories in here from imams, quotes from the Quran, from Buddha, from Christianity, from Old Testament, from New Testament, rabbis, ministers, preachers of all different kinds. So there's a collection here called Seasons of Caring. And the quote today is actually from Imam Jamal Raham. And this is from a 13th century Islamic mystic, Rumi. Grass agrees to die and rise up again so that it can receive a little of the animal's enthusiasm. I love that because it reminds us about water and about nature and about the growing of grass and how the world is all about rebirth, about regrowth, about ongoing generations in that circle of life. When you're a caregiver, you lose sight of that because you're so embedded in the day-to-day task survival. Using, whether it's a metaphor from a reading or spending time in nature and just appreciating that we're so small in this grander scheme, sometimes helps me as a caregiver anyway, to kind of say a little perspective is a good thing. So I offer this to you and encourage you to look for it. It's wonderful. And I thank Lynn Possell, who is the minister who sent this to me. Her chapter especially I love. So thank you all for sending that to me. Oh, by the way, it also comes with a leader's guide. So if you are in a caregiving situation and you're a caregiver support group facilitator, or if you are working in your faith community, this is actually Meditations for Alzheimer's and Dementia Caregivers, a leader's guide and discussion booklet. So great resources, great resources. All right, so that's what one of my folks have sent, and I am happy to share resources. If you have a favorite resource, please let me know. Please email me at Pamela Atwood, LOL, @gmail.com. That's again, Pamela Atwood, LOL, @gmail.com. And I'm happy to share whatever resources I can. You can also check us out on www.agingcareacademy.org. That's the special project that I do with my full-time employer over at Hebrew Healthcare. Aging Care Academy was actually supposed to start as a caregiver college, and some of our research that we did a little bit before, some of our focus groups were kind of freaking out about the whole concept of college. And they were saying, oh, well, we didn't do very good at school, or we didn't do well and we're concerned. And so we didn't want the name to be a barrier. agingcareacademy.org is just a simple website. Some workshops, some classes. You can go on there and find tips, brain health strategies, funny quotes, all kinds of different resources that are there for you. So until next time, hoping that you remain a confident caregiver. Thanks for watching.